Hello, hello. Welcome to Memento Mori. This is Baba Mori, and tonight we're going to talk about the Nag Hammadi Scriptures. Or at least that's where we're going to start. Because trying to do this episode has led me down a whole ass rabbit hole. So, a little bit of background. The Nag Hammadi Scriptures are a compilation of 52 tractates that have about 30 new texts. They were found in 1945 in jars at the foot of a cliff, Bal al-Tarif, near Nag Hammadi in Egypt. These were 13 papyrus codices. They were written probably around 350 to 400 CE in Greek Coptic. Pachomian Monastery was in that area. So there were several different monasteries that were local. So it could have come from a few different ones, but that's one of the main ones that they believe it probably originated in. Basically, somebody put a whole bunch of texts in jars and buried them at the bottom of a cliff. In 367 CE, so after death, Athanasius called to remove the apocryphal texts. He created a list of 27 books. The New Testament was what that ended up being. In the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, there is the Papyrus Berlinensis 8502. There are duplicates on 2 tractates, and there are 2 new texts. This, the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, also includes the Codex Chacos. I think that's how you say that. And 2 other texts in that. And then these were translated by teams in Germany, Canada, and the US. So they were translated into 3 different languages. The first one is the Prayer of Paul. Now, this is on the front flyleaf of the Nag Hammadi Codex 1. The first few lines are missing. The title at the end, Prayer of the Apostle Paul. And then it starts by speaking to the Redeemer. It affirms connections to the divine, calls the divine as you who exist and pre-existed. And then there are lines about the human heart being made by the demiurge when it was first created. It's important for later. Okay, so the lines that I thought were interesting were, I am yours, I have come from you. Give me incomprehensible perfection, you who existed and pre-existed in the name exalted above every name. Give me the authority I ask of you. Give healing for my body. Disclose to my mind the firstborn of the fullness of grace. The firstborn of the fullness of grace is important too. The human heart, which became angelic, made in the image of the animate God when it was formed in the beginning. Now, who is the animate God? We're about to get to that. I wanted to start this episode or this series on the Nag Hammadi Scriptures by focusing on the secret book of James, the revelations of James, but that led me on a couple different side quests. And I ended up going down a rabbit hole after Sophia. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do is talk about that. Now, let's start off with the secret book of James. Was sent to an unknown person. The first 16 pages of the Nag Hammadi Codex 1 are the secret book of James. The author refers to the letter as Apocryphon, aka secret book, Apocryphon. I know I missed something. Apocryphon, aka secret book. It's the account of the revelation to James and Peter from Jesus. This copy was written around the end of 200 AD, start of 300 AD. He only wanted to tell 2 of his 12 disciples, so he pulled them to the side. The author refers to the recipient as a minister of the salvation of the saints, potentially talking about a Gnostic community. All right, so the person that he's writing this text to, or this letter to. The events depicted happened 550 days after the resurrection, when the disciples were writing their books about Christ. Jesus pulls James and Peter aside to be filled. Leave no space within you empty, or he who is coming will mock you. Who the fuck is coming? Who is he who is coming? All right. So they need to be filled. The pleroma is mentioned. James is receptive, but Peter doesn't seem to get it. Potentially, this is the divide that leads to the Orthodox Church versus the Great Church. And James is active in the dialogue, but Peter tries to brush it off and be kind of argumentative. So they talk about the fullness, pain, prophecy. These are all major themes. The chariot of spirit that takes Jesus up is similar to the Jewish Merkavas, where they're seeing and hearing angelic trumpets and noise, turmoil. They ascend to a place where they can hear angels until they reach the majesty or the highest God, where they can't see or hear anymore. Jesus is said to be a pre-existing entity. Then there's lines that I quoted directly from the Secret Book. All of this is notes that I took based off of the portion in the front of, like, when you're looking in the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, you're going to see, like, this is the second revelation of James, and there's this, like, it talks about it a little bit and goes into a little bit of a description, and then it actually tells you what it is, right? It gives you the text. So now we get into lines of the actual text that I thought were interesting. So I'm not writing down the whole thing, otherwise I would just read from the book. But I did write down a lot, so bear with me. Be filled with the Spirit, but lack in reason, for reason is of the soul. It is soul. Be seekers of death. No one afraid of death will be saved, for the kingdom of death belongs to those who are put to death or put themselves to death. So people who die of natural causes would not be in the kingdom of death. Right? The head of prophecy was cut off with John. Realize what head means, and that prophecy comes from the head. Then understand the meaning of its head was removed. Okay? You were for me a parable among parables. He's saying this to James. And a disclosure among things revealed. Come to hate hypocrisy and evil intention. Intention produces hypocrisy, and hypocrisy is far from truth. Now, when he says this to James, we're going to bring this back up later. You were for me a parable among parables and a disclosure among things revealed. It certainly would be good if you could produce new growth. Now, he's talking about the growth of trees dropping their seeds, and then the trees themselves kind of wither, but their new growth grows up. So he's saying, hey, it would be good if you just started making new growth now, because you've got 30 minutes. The world is like a grain of wheat. It goes from being sown to faith to sprouted to loved. So you have to sow the seed, have faith that it's going to sprout, then it sprouts, and then you love it because you see that it sprouted and it gives you a whole bunch of stuff on top of what you put into it. So it's loved because he saw many grains instead of one. Then he's saved. He was saved because he prepared food from it and kept seeds to sow later. These are the steps to manifestation. In case no one has ever told you, this is a very, very basic steps to manifestation. You sow the seed. You tell the universe what you want. You tell yourself, your highest self, what you want. You make it very, very clear. And then you believe that you will achieve that. You believe that you will get it. You believe that it is already true. You feel it with your whole heart, your whole being. And then you will start to see it show up in your reality. And as it shows up in the reality, you're going to feel love for that thing even more, because not only did you plant the seed and have faith that it was going to happen, but you got that seed to grow. And then on top of that, the seed is giving back to you way more than you thought it was going to, based off of what you put into it. This is manifestation. Acquire heaven's kingdom for yourselves. Unless you acquire it through knowledge or gnosis, you will not be able to find it. So gnosis is not just having knowledge, but understanding it and being able to communicate it. It's a level of understanding that is beyond just surface knowledge of something. He says, I have won my crown when I saved you. Listen to the word, understand gnosis, love life, and no one will persecute you, and no one will oppress you other than yourselves. If I had been sent to those who would listen to me and spoken with them, I would never have come down to earth and would never have ascended from the earth. He talks about going up and coming down. So he does both in his process from coming to earth originally as a baby, growing up, dying, going down to the lower worlds, coming back up, and then going back up to the higher worlds. Like, it's a whole boomerang situation. Woe to you who are in need of an advocate. Blessed be those who have spoken out and acquire grace for themselves. So this is kind of akin to the idea in a lot of Nordic theologies or Germanic theologies, where the idea of praying to a god and begging for something is kind of looked down on. It's more appreciated if you almost command it into existence, right? Not necessarily with entitlement. You want to have humility, you want to be humble with it, but you can also say, I deserve this, it is mine. So with this, woe to you who are in need of an advocate. Who would be an advocate in that situation? If you're praying for something, who's an advocate in that? Who's a middleman? Woe to you who need an advocate. Blessed be those who have spoken out and acquired grace for themselves. So blessed are those who are talking directly to me and asking for things for themselves. Compare yourselves to foreigners. How are they viewed in your city? You exiles and runaways, woe to you, for you will be captured. So basically, in this part, he's talking he's talking about treat people from other countries the way you would want to be treated, because one day when you try to run away from this country, you're going to get got. That's not relevant today at all. Continued. Maybe you think the Father is a lover of humanity, or that he is won over by prayers, or that he is gracious to one because of another, or that he tolerates whoever is seeking. Apparently that is not accurate. The Father is not a lover of humanity that is won over by prayers, etc. The body does not sin apart from the soul, just as the soul is not saved apart from the spirit, which means the soul and the spirit are two different things. But if the soul is saved from evil, the spirit too is saved. The body becomes sinless. The spirit animates the soul, but the body kills it. Then the soul kills itself. I'm going to say that again. If the soul is saved from evil, the spirit too is saved. The body becomes sinless. The spirit animates the soul, but the body kills it. The spirit animates the soul, but the body kills the spirit. And then the soul kills itself. Blessed is the one who has seen oneself as a fourth one in heaven. Hold up, a fourth one? I thought it was a Holy Trinity. Where's this fourth one coming in? We're going to get to them in a minute. Woe to those for who I was sent down here. So remember earlier he said that he was not sent down here to people who would listen to him. He was sent down for the people that would not listen to him. Woe to those for who I was sent down here. Again, I warn you, you who exist, be like those who do not exist, that you may dwell with those who do not exist. He's talking about the pre-existent entity. Do not let heaven's kingdom become a desert within you. So when he's talking about going up or down, he's not talking about going to heaven, because heaven's kingdom is within you. Remember that. Okay. Do not let heaven's kingdom become a desert within you. Do not be proud because of the light that enlightens. Rather, act towards yourself as I have towards you. I have put myself under a curse for you, that you may be saved. And here, Peter is confused. He does not understand. Jesus says, whoever will receive life and believe in the kingdom will never leave it, not even if the Father wants to banish him. So, in this situation, he's not talking about his Father. He's talking about the Father, like, that is the God that is considered the Old Testament God, the God of creation type thing. Just hold on. So, even if the Father wants to banish him, can't kick him out. As long as they believe, they'll never leave it. When I was eager to go, you have driven me off. And instead of accompanying me, because he asked them to go with him up to where he came from, instead of accompanying me, you have chased me away. I shall depart from you, for a chariot of spirit has carried me up, and from now on I shall strip myself that I may clothe myself. So a chariot of spirit has carried me up, okay? And now I shall strip myself that I may clothe myself. So I'm going to strip myself of all of these old things. Like, you could think of old programming. You can think of the physical, like corporeal form. You can think of stripping yourself of old versions of yourself, and clothing yourself in a new version, or in a more pure, authentic version of yourself. The same type of concept. This is still kind of like manifestation and shadow work, but this is kind of more on the shadow work aspect of it. I'm gonna leave from you on a chariot of spirit that's gonna carry me up, but I have to strip myself first so that I can clothe myself. Yeah, that sounds like shadow work to me. We heard with our ears and saw with our eyes the noise of wars, a trumpet blast, and great turmoil. So they hear all of this, and they send their hearts to heaven. Here they hear hymns and angelic praises and rejoicing. They send their minds up even further, where they have spirits, where their spirits are sent up to the Majesty, the overall whole thing, where they cannot see or hear at all. There's no light and no sound, or no sight and no sound. Then it says, he ascended. He gave us his right hand and promised all of us life. He showed us children coming after us and commanded us to love them, since we are to be saved for their sakes. Now here's the part that kind of ticked me off. They were angry about those who would be born. They didn't want to share their inheritance from God with the children that would be their descendants, mind you, would be their children and grandchildren. So James says he sends them to a different location, and he went to Jerusalem. So in the first revelation of James, it's only named the first because of the order that they were copied in. It's not really like chronologically first. And in this one, James is called the brother of Jesus through Mary. He's also named as James the Just, the sole leader of Jerusalem's Christian community after Peter left. Now remember, Peter didn't understand, and then he went off and started running his mouth. Dialogue between James and Jesus talks about the passion of Christ, James's martyrdom, maleness and femaleness with salvation, Gnostic ideologies, the meaning of Jesus' suffering. He will not be transformed. It does not specify that he'll die, but it does say that he'll go into the lower realms or lower heavens for trials. It also talks about 3 toll collectors or detainers who will try to stop him. His only escape is through gnosis. Remember earlier we were talking about how the only way out is through knowledge, through gnosis. He gives James the answers to any potential questions that he may get from these 3 toll keepers or detainers. He encourages and bolsters James's martyrdom and his oomph to do it. right? His drive to do it. He tells him it's meant to keep the conversation between the two of them, right? So keep it a secret until James can talk to a guy named Ade. I know I said that wrong. Ade, founder of the Syrian Christianity. So James has to keep this to himself until he gets to talk to this guy Ade, who founds the Syrian sect of Christianity or Gnosticism. And then he gives instructions for Ade. Now, this was probably composed in Syria around, it says 150 AD, but I may have that one wrong. There's about 67 lines missing out of this. So going through it and reading it, I got a little bit confused because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff missing, but there's also mention of some other things that my good little Catholic girl was not taught about when I went to Bible school. One of them being Sophia. And if you've never heard of Sophia, don't feel bad. I understood Sophia as a concept that meant wisdom, that had to do with the Greeks. But as far as like all of this, no. So I took a side quest, and I'm going to take you guys with me. Sophia. In Proverbs 8:22 through 31, it talks about how she was with God before creation. She was the master worker through whom God created. In Sirach 24 says she is from eternity and fills all that is. The wisdom of Solomon 7:22 through 27 says she is the fashioner and mother of all good things. A spirit that is intelligent, holy, unique, manifold, subtle, mobile, clear, unpolluted, distinct, invulnerable. The list goes on. Hold on. Loving the good, keen, irresistible, beneficent, humane, steadfast, secure, free from anxiety, all-powerful, overseeing all, and penetrating through all. Now, those all sound like attributes of God to me. Like the God that I was taught was God, right? The author summarizes the history of Israel and uses Sophia / wisdom instead of God in multiple instances. In John chapter 1, just as the Word was with God and was God, so Sophia was. So if the Word was God and the Word was with God and Sophia was the Word, then Sophia was God. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us as Jesus. So Sophia was Jesus, kind of. Jesus is wisdom manifest. Okay, so Sophia was with God and facilitated creation, then wanted to have a child of her. This is one variation. There's a lot of different stories about Sophia. This is one variation. It's kind of the overall like Gnostic idea, but there's other groups within that have their own little variations on it. So this is basically my notes in my side quest. And just follow along. Okay. So Sophia was with God and facilitated creation, then wanted to have a child on her own. She's the female aspect of creation, while God is the male aspect of creation. God, in air quotes. Akhmoth, probably saying that wrong, was Sophia's child on her own. God, I just kind of stays off in its little ethereal place. At this point in my thinking, I was like, well, maybe God went on to be the God of the Old Testament. No. While Sophia manifests as Jesus to save humanity, like that was my thinking. Does God go on to be the God of the Old Testament while Sophia manifests as Jesus to come back and try to save humanity? Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so maybe it's like mommy and daddy are fighting and she has to come back and get the kids. I don't know. But no, it does not end up being the God of the Old Testament. Sophia falls from the pleroma, so the fullness of aeons. This goes from, it's something called monad or God. And then there's aeons, which are aspects of God that are in female and male pairs called syzygies. And I know I'm not saying a lot of this right, and I apologize. This is just what I got so far, is very, very initial research. From that, Sophia, who has created all of this with God, right? She's been through all of it right there, the whole thing. He could not have done it without her. She decides to emanate or create without him. She wants to go do shit on her own, right? Now, that's one version of it. In this version, her fall triggers matter and soul into his existence. This creates the demiurge Yaldabaoth, who then creates the physical world. And that guy is potentially the Old Testament God, but we'll get there. So Sophia, in this process, infuses her soul or spark into the world. And then Christ is sent to return her to Pleroma, then sent to earth as Jesus to give men, specifically men, gnosis needed to save themselves from the world of the demiurge. Now, again, that's one variation, right? In this situation, Sophia's dwelling place and the relation to the upper and lower worlds and her relation to the seven planetary powers was defined in the book of Proverbs. So there's seven spheres or heavens where the highest places that were the highest places in creation. And these were stacked on top of each other and controlled by archons. Above them was Ogdod. Again, I'm sorry, a super celestial area. All of this was like everything that was happening with the seven spheres, and then the eighth area was the last and the lowest area of creation. Above it is the pleroma, where the first manifestations of evolution of a subordinate existence were created. The Ogdod place is a sphere of immutability, aka the spiritual realm. So Sophia sits above it all, and then at every intersection of each one of these dimensions, at the crossroads, at the gates of the mighty and the portals. So who else sits at the crossroads and the gates and the portals? Hecate. One of several deities that does this, but Hecate for one, and we've already talked about her just a scotch in the last couple episodes. She is the highest ruler over manifest reality, as well as the mediator between the realms. She shapes the world and universe based on the seven heavenly prototypes and creates the seven star circles, as well as their archons. She shapes destiny. So my little astrology girl brain is going, oh, the seven star circles and the seven heavenly prototypes. So like the seven main planets, star circles being like the zodiac through the seven spheres or seven planets, and ruled by archons. So would those archons be the personality that we use to talk about the different planets and how they affect us when we're talking about astrology? Right? Like these are like I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, so Sophia is the mother of the living. So is Hecate. She came from above to manifest in soul, according to Athanasius of Salamis. Salamis? I don't know. So her fall from the pleroma to Canoma, her light brought down into darkness, triggered by a life-giving moment in the kingdom of midst, or the upper world, right? So in this, her birth of something without a partner creates this like imbalance that drops down into the lower world, is the way that I'm understanding that. So according to Syrian Christianity or Syrian Gnosticism, they called Sophia the great mother principle of the universe. According to Irenaeus, she was the first woman, she was the Holy Spirit, she was the mother of all, and there were 4 elements in her: water, earth, air, and life. There's a whole chart. There's a whole chart where it has a woman at the top, and I wish I knew how to put it up here or whatever, but there's like a woman at the top, and then it shows all these different bodies, just circles coming off of her, like kind of like a skirt, that go down into the solar system, basically. Like, I'll post it on my TikTok, so go check it out there at Baba_Mori on TikTok. So these 4 elements in her: water, earth, air, and life. Not fire, not ether. It looks like it says blood, but they call it life. With her, 2 supreme masculine lights. So Sophia and dude number 1 and dude number 2, who are the father and the son, the first and second man, while she's the first woman. They combine, have a little threesome, and that produces Christ. That's where Christ consciousness comes from, is the culmination of their intercourse. He is born from their communion, right, with the 3 of them. During the process of the birth of Christ, according to Syrian Gnosticism, some of Sophia's light drips down to the left side because there's so much of it, she can't contain all of it. It won't all go into this Christ that she's giving birth to. So she lets it drip, fall down to the left side, right? And he goes to the right side. Ultimately, this creates matter from her fractal soul. In this corporeal form, this piece of Sophia, which is called Akhmath, is trying to escape the body that it's encapsulated in. Akhmath succeeds in raising herself up by the power of her light to the realm above. So she finally is able to like push herself up above the realm that she has fallen into, thus creating the firmament with her body. Her corporeal form turns into the firmament. So this light drops down into nothingness and ripples into this void of nothing. And as it tries to come back up, and because you know how when it drops down, it comes back up, right? When it comes back up, it has to get out of that dense atmosphere in order to come up. And in the process, shedding the corporeal form that is the denseness of the atmosphere to create the firmament, the firmament with that denseness of the corporeal form. She finally finds the strength to rise above even that heaven that she has created and return to the mother Sophia, right? So she is the lower wisdom, the lower level of Sophia, whereas the original Sophia that is still a part of God, the Father, is the higher wisdom. This is called woman from woman, formation of the lower world. Now that's important. Remember the woman thing, just hold on to it for a second. Okay. Now, Sophia creates these 7 archons, man, like mankind, and forces the archons to share their portion of the light that she offers as inheritance. And this creates tension because the archons keep trying to prove themselves to her, and she keeps looking for the light within humans. Like, she keeps trying to find the pieces of light in the humans. At least that's the way I'm understanding it. So Christ saves the day by dropping down. Now, this is the Christ that was created at the same time that she was. So it is her syzygy, right? Drops down and draws all of the light from the humans to itself, unites with Akhmoth, or the lower Sophia. They have intercourse, and then what is made from the two of them is what goes into Jesus as Jesus's spirit, because his vessel has been prepared to hold this culmination of these two things, right? Christ then leaves Jesus right before the crucifixion, returning up with Sophia, with Akhmoth, to the eternal aeon, up to the original Sophia. So it's almost like this boomerang effect has to happen, right? So if we're up here and we're all together, and okay, so it's kind of like parthenogenesis, where the egg just decides, oh, okay, well, I'm going to fertilize myself with myself. And now we have the mother, the father, and the son creating a whole new thing. And in it, something leaks out, right? So as that creation happens, something leaks out, and it falls to lower, denser planes of being where it cannot escape, and it's literally being drugged down farther, right? It finally gets up. It's finally able to see what is going on, and creates this like little heaven for itself, because it's above all of this stuff below it, right? But it's not enough. It still wants to go up higher. So Christ comes down to help it go up higher. They do the nasty, and what's made from the two of them communing goes into the baby Jesus, teaches everybody through Jesus, and then leaves to slingshot Akhmoth back up to Sophia before the crucifixion. So Christus / Sophia is the male and female aspect of the universe, or Christus and Akhmoth. But Sophia is the female aspect of the creation entity itself, but the universe that is created is a function of Christus and Sophia being born. Sophia is the mother of all, or Christus and Akhmoth being born. Sorry. She's called Sophia too, which is very confusing when you don't know what you're reading. So Christus and the lower Sophia are the aspects that create the universe. Sophia the higher is the mother of all. Her story, in most variation, involves a fall from grace, wherein she suffers greatly until she is found by Christ, or Christus, her Akhmoth's syzygy, who mates with her before bringing her home. Sophia is Akhmoth. Akhmoth is Sophia's lower self, the part that fell. Back to the first revelation of James. Now that our side quest is over and we understand a little bit about who we're talking about, the first revelation of James is talking about what was said to him, right, by Jesus when Jesus came back after the resurrection. Okay, just to read back what we're talking about here. Jesus says, once nothing existed except the one who is. The one who is would be the three together that create the whole. In my mind, that's the way I'm understanding it. That one is unnameable and ineffable. I also am unnameable from the one who is, although I have been given many names. Since you ask, femaleness did exist, but femaleness was not first. It prepared divine powers for itself, but it did not yet exist when I came to be. For I am an image of the one who is. I brought forth the image of the one who is, that the children of the one who is might know what is theirs and what is alien to them. So here he's saying that while femaleness did exist, it was not first. It was a part of the original existence, but it was not the original existence. in totality. It prepared divine powers for itself. So here he could be talking about where she was trying to either emanate on her own or leave the known world of the whole, or whatever the story is, because there's several different variations of what happened, but prepared divine powers for itself, but it did not yet exist when I came to be. So when he came to be, when Christus came to be, was when Akhmoth came to be as well. So femaleness would not have existed per se until he existed. Oh. But it wasn't a copy of the one who is the way that Christus is. It was a direct copy, like a spark, a piece, a drip, what they call it, of Sophia alone. So when that aspect of her fell, it thought it was alone. It didn't know that there was all of this stuff going on. Okay, so I brought forth the image of the one who is, that the children of the one who is might know what is theirs and what is alien to them. Then he goes on to say, leave Jerusalem, for this city always gives the cup of bitterness to the children of light. This is the dwelling place of many archons. So if it is the dwelling place of many archons, what is happening with their realms? Like, what are they doing? Why are they in Jerusalem? What is going on? Who's ruling while they're in Jerusalem? Right? There's many different I thought that were only 7. So if there's 7 archons, then how many of them are in Jerusalem right now, and why? The city always gives the cup of bitterness to the children of light. Well, the children of light are the children of Sophia, humans, the children of Akhma, so humans. Because there's so many archons ruling there, they're dwelling there, and they have this beef with the humans, or with mankind, because they have to share this inherited light portion. They're just assholes to the children of light, and they give them a cup of bitterness. He said, it is not everything but first fruits, the 12, every one of them on his own realm of 7. First fruits. Now, when we were talking earlier about the firstborn of the fullness, remember, I was like, remember that, because that's going to come up later. Here it doesn't call it firstborn, it calls it first fruits. So the first fruits, firstborn of the pleroma, would have been Christus. The first fruits of Akhmoth would have been these that he's talking about now, would have been her first children. The 12, every one of them on his own realm of 7. Then there are 12 realms of 7 and not 7, as the scriptures say, James asks him. Jesus replies with, these are the 72 inferior heavens that belong to them. These are the powers of all their might. They have been established by them, and they have been assigned to every place under the authority of the 12 rulers. The power in them, insignificant as it is, brought forth itself angels and hosts without number. 12 realms of 7. 12 realms. So 12 houses, like in astrology, of 7 planets. So each of these 12 sits in its own realm of 7. In its own realm, okay? 72 inferior heavens, which makes a hell of a lot of sense if you think about astrology in the sense of every time it goes into a different house or a different sign, the planet is going to present differently. Confirmation. So the 12 realms. So that could be the 12 houses or the 12 signs, 7 planets. They've been established by them. They have been assigned to every place under the authority of the 12 rulers. So the rulers would be the zodiac signs, like the star charts, I think. Okay. The power in them, insignificant as it is, brought forth itself angels and hosts without number. That one I don't have a explanation for outside of maybe it's talking about the actual stars. Maybe it's talking about the actual stars. If you wish to number them now, you will not be able to do so until you throw off blind thought, this bond of flesh surrounding you. Only then will you attain the one who is, and then you will no longer be James, but you are the one who is. So when you die, you go back into this wholeness. He goes on to say these powers are armed. No, he talks about that James is going to be like arrested or whatever, right? And that they have these powers or whatever. And James says, well, how am I supposed to avoid this, right? And he says, these powers are armed not against you alone, but also against others. The powers are armed against me, and they are armed with other powers. They are armed against me with judgment. Again, with the planets and astrology affecting literally everything that we do, and even to the point of affecting a corporeal Christ. And again, I may be stretching here. That may just be me going out on a limb. I don't have decades long of research into this. I've literally only been doing this for a short time. This is just my understanding of what I'm reading based off of all of the other pattern pings that I have with all of the other information. So James says, you have come with gnosis to reprove their forgetfulness. You have come with remembrance to reprove their ignorance. You walked in mud and your garments did not get dirty. You were not inundated with their filth, and they did not apprehend you. I was not like them, but I have clothed myself in all that is theirs. And Jesus replies, if you continue in your commitment, do not be concerned about anything other than your deliverance. So basically, keep doing you. If you're going to do it, and don't worry about what's going to happen. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Just understand that if you are committed to this path and you know that this is where that path is going to take you, then just do the thing. For many will attain to faith and they will grow. And after this, I shall appear to the rulers and I shall show them that there is one who is invincible. Now, if he's talking about like the stars there, that's wild. That if that one is seized, he will seize all of them. All of them. After the resurrection, he says, I am the one who was within me. Never did I suffer at all. I was not distressed. These people did not harm me. Rather, all of this was inflicted upon a figure of the rulers, and it was fitting that this figure should be destroyed by them. So he's talking about the rulers of like the people there. And I'm sure the rulers of the people could have been a metaphor for the planets, but still. Okay, so the just God became angry with you since you have been a servant to him. Because of this, you have been named James the Just. You have set in motion great anger and wrath against yourself, but that has happened so that these other things might occur. Do not be sad. The flesh is weak, and it will get what is ordained for it. Jesus tells James he will be seized and arrested by these sufferings, and people will try to catch him. He'll have to talk to 3 toll collectors who will ask questions. His answers need to be things like, I am from the pre-existent Father, and I am a son in the pre-existent one. The pre-existent one, Sophia, because she existed before existence. She helped create existence, right? I am from the pre-existent Father. Sophia is also the father of Ahmad. So she is a father and mother. I am from the pre-existent Father. He could still be talking about the male form or the male aspect of the Sophia part of the whole as well. And I am son in the pre-existent one, because he labels the pre-existent Father and then goes on to say the pre-existent one. So yes, that's right. He's talking about the male aspect and then Sophia. That I may see those who are ours and those who have become aliens is what he's supposed to say when the things ask him why he's there. And then he tells them they're not entirely aliens, but they come from Akhmoth. She produced them when she brought this generation down from the pre-existent one, Sophia. They are ours because she rules over them. She who rules over them comes from the pre-existent one. Again, Sophia is the pre-existent one, yet they are aliens because the pre-existent one did not have intercourse with her when she was about to produce them. So because they are from Akhma's parthenogenetic reproduction of herself, they are aliens, but because they are from Akhmath, who is from Sophia, they are of them. So they're like cousins. I shall return to the place I came from. If you fall into the hands of the three detainers, say to them, I am a vessel that is more precious than the female who is your mother. We got mama jokes now. As long as Akhmath is ignorant of her root, Sophia, you will also not become sober again. But I shall call upon imperishable knowledge, who is Sophia, who is in the Father, and is the mother of Akhmath. Akhmath had no father or male companion, but she is a female from a female, a woman from a woman. She created you by herself without a male because she was ignorant of those who attained to her mother. She thought that she alone existed. I shall cry up to her mother. So Akhmath is either the animated God that created the human heart, which makes sense because it was talking about how she created man, right? And all this, and then split the inheritance of the light portion between the archons and from man. So to me, that would make her the animated God. It would also make sense if she created all of those things for the animated, or for the heart being made by the animated God to be angelic, because she also created what would become the angels, I guess. I don't know. So when they find out that they are from a false deity, basically, is what he's getting at, they will blame their root and generation of their mother. They are prototypes of the 12 disciples and the 72 companions. Akhmath, which is translated as Sophia. Hide within yourself who I am and who imperishable Sophia is, through whom you will be delivered, and who all the children are of the one who is. And who all the children are of the one who is. So literally all of the children of the one who is come from her. And she is the imperishable knowledge through whom you will be delivered. So literally the father that he's talking about is also Sophia, whom you will be delivered from through. Like, be quiet about these things, but give them to a day. A day? A day. A day? I still can't say these things right. I'm sorry. There will be war waged in this land when you leave. In the 10th year, Adai is to sit down and write it all out. They are to give them to the first, who is called Levi. Now, there's a lot of lines missing in here, so it's a lot of dots. He is to take a wife outside of Jerusalem and produce 2 sons from her. They are to inherit these things and understanding of the one who will rise even higher. These are to receive from him a portion of his mind. The smaller is the greater among them. Now he's talking about Levi's sons. Let these things be shared with him and hidden within him until he is 17 years old. He will be severely persecuted. He will be proclaimed through them, and he will proclaim this word. Then it will become a seed of salvation. James asks, who are the 7 women who have become your disciples? How can it be that powerless vessels have become strong through the perception within them? Jesus replies, but many lines are missing, right? So he gives his reply, but there's so many lines missing. But he does talk about several spirits, 4 of them being the spirit of thought, spirit of counsel, the spirit of knowledge, and the spirit of fear. When we passed through the region of the Archon Adonis, we ... him and ... he was ignorant. So they tried to do something with him, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not having it." When I passed by him, he thought I was a son of his. He treated me graciously at the time, as though I was his son. Then, before I appeared in this place, they were cast among his people. But from that, the prophets did not ... upon you. So there's a lot of lines missing here. But basically, he's saying he went through the region of the Archon Donai, which is very similar to I think it's Hebrew word for the Lord. So he could be talking about that guy being an Archon, which would make sense. You have cast away yourself the cup, which is bitterness. None of the rulers will be able to stand against you, for you have begun to understand their roots from beginning to end. So, by understanding the rulers, which we could be talking about the zodiac again, and understanding their roots from beginning to end, you are able to let go of this cup of bitterness that they're trying to feed to you, because you can see what it is. You can see what's going on. He goes on to say, Shalom, Mary, Arsino, lots of ... These he offers up as burnt offerings and sacrifices, but I will not do so. I will bring first fruits of the imperishable Sophia, that the power of truth may be clear. Again, he's talking about first fruits here, right? But this time he's not talking about Akhmoths, he's talking about top dog Sophias. That the power of truth may be clear. The perishable has gone up to the imperishable, and the work of femaleness has attained to the work of this maleness. So now that he has been crucified and come back, the perishable has gone back up to the imperishable. Alchemoth has gone back up to Sophia, and the work of femaleness has attained to the work of the maleness. So the female aspect did her part, and now it's time for the men, I guess. And that's what Jesus was trying to do, was teach the men. And then I put in my notes here, I said, could this whole story be a metaphor for what we call shadow work? A piece of us, Sophia, falls, and it takes Christ's consciousness in us to reach down and bring that piece back up to the light. I think I said that earlier, but it's probably because I already had the thought here. Okay, he goes on to say, for you have received the first fruits of knowledge, and you now know the place in which you will walk, because they have trusted you, that they may be convinced for their blessing and salvation, and this revelation will come to pass. So he's telling him to give this information because it's going to help people. Like, it will save them by knowing this information, right? So then James goes to face judgment, but then was released by the men, saying, my Father in the heavens, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now that's the first revelation of James. And I did not get all the way through the second revelation of James before I ran out of time, but I'm going to get to where I got. So, excuse me. In the second revelation of James, we talk about things like the fact that it is a report from an anonymous priest to a guy named Theudas. I think that's how you say it. Who's supposedly the father of James the Just, as an attempt to help James get out of trouble because he's facing the death penalty. Talks about the true God of eternal life versus the God of the Old Testament, who can only offer land of the slain as inheritance. The creator entity has set out to capture and assimilate those who are from the Father, So basically, Sophia searching for the fallen part of herself, Akhmath, who then includes her light in all things, kind of, until Christus pulls it all together before communing with Akhmath / Sophia, and then entering Jesus, who had been made ready, then ascended before the crucifixion with Akhmath Sophia to return to the one who is, which is Sophia plus the Father and the Son. Which includes the original Sophia as the feminine aspect, and that's why Jesus said the femaleness was there but didn't exist first. So Jesus sets the process of liberation from the physical world of Akhmath's creation in motion. And Yaldabaoth, I think that one I have to do more research, because I'm kind of thinking that he may come in when it comes time for like the whole Adam and Eve thing to come up, because Akhmath's already created the world and there's already people in it. But then if Yaldabaoth has created Adam and Eve in their Garden of Eden, and then they get out of the Garden of Eden after being kicked out, and there's people out there, it would make sense because Akhmath has already created all these people, right? He chose James as his tool, and James becomes the liberator. Then James goes through this death prayer that, when I first read it, was very similar to the Our Father that I learned. There are 66 lines missing in this one, approximately. So, in the second revelation, James speaks at the temple in a favored spot. He goes up to the 5th flight of stairs, and he usually doesn't do that. So already he's off to a bad fucking start with everybody. People are upset. And then he goes on to say, I am the one who received revelation from the fullness or pleroma of imperishability, who was summoned by the one who is great, who obeyed the Lord. It is he who passed through the worlds without being recognized, who came down after stripping off his clothing and walked about naked, who was found in perishability, though destined to be brought up to imperishability. The same master / Lord came down as a son who can see, and as a brother. He was rejected when he was on his way to the one whom the Father produced. So Akhmath produced, in order that he might ... him and introduce him to free himself of the fetters of death ... who came to me in faithfulness. So there's a lot of lines missing here. Now again, I am rich in knowledge or gnosis. I have a unique deliverer, one who was conceived from above and was the first to come from. I am to the Father, whom I have come to know. What was revealed to me was hidden from everyone, yet that will be revealed through him. I blank the two who see. Right, so he is talking about having received the revelation from the fullness of imperishability. So from Sophia, from Christus, he has received this information. He goes on to talk about the life of Jesus, and there's a lot of lines missing in this one. But one that is included is, I do not judge and I do not confuse the servants of his will, whom I hurry to set free. And if I help them, I wish to take them above the one who wants to rule over them. So who wants to rule over them? Akhmath, or the God of the Old Testament, or Yaldabaoth? I don't know. I am the first one who was conceived and who will destroy the dominion of them all. So he's talking about Christ saying these things, right? He was talking about the life of Jesus and Christ saying these things, that he is the first one that was conceived and will destroy dominion of them all, because he had to come down and save Akhmath. So James goes on to talk about Mary showing up with Jesus after he had risen, saying, don't be afraid, my son. You were both nourished by the same milk. He is your stepbrother. And Jesus says, your father is not my father, but as my father has become a father to you. So your father, whom you consider rich, who could be Akhmath or Yaldabaoth, I think it's Akhmath, but will grant you inherit all that you can see. But all that you can see was promised to them based off of them killing the people that lived there. So will grant you inherit all that you see, but I proclaim to you that I shall give you what I shall say if you listen. I proclaim to you that I shall give you what I shall say if you listen, right? He's talking about eternal life, eternal oneness with the whole. One considered glorious and intending to bring confusion and violence, pay no attention to them. He set his hand to something he didn't understand, nor did those sent by him to prepare this present creation. So the people who sent him didn't understand either. Later, when he is put to shame, he will be troubled that his work, which is far removed from the eternal realms, comes to nothing. His inheritance will prove insignificant. These gifts are not blessings, and his promises are evil intrigues. You are not of the children of his compassion, but he does violence against you. He wants to do injustice to us, and he will have dominion for a period of time appointed for him. But understand and know the Father who has compassion, who was not given an inheritance, whose inheritance is unlimited with an unlimited number of days. So Sophia, it to them, their inheritance is an eternal day. It exists in places the Creator himself cannot perceive. He merely uses, for he is not from those places. So again, he could be Achmath, that they're talking about, or Yaldabaoth. Again, I'm not 100% sure. What I can say is that this idea of Sophia being the mother of all souls, being mother of both the good and the negative, of being mother of the Savior, as well as the intermediary between all of the different dimensions in existence, and in the physical realm that is created by her lower self. Like, she's literally in all of it. But it's also a story that has been told in so many different cultures throughout time, which I'm going to be like digging into more in depth. But just off of the top of my head, I can think of things like Inanna and Ereshkigal, Hecate and Zeus as the male and female aspects of creation, right? Where Hecate Sotiera was the mediator between Zeus and the manifested world, like the physical realm. Same story ish. Like, so yeah. I have got to do more digging into this before I keep going. I have so many different things in my mind about this, and I'm probably just going to do a part 2 of this episode for next week. Actually, I get to start writing on the sequel to Küçük Gölge tomorrow, because tonight is a full moon. It's also the harvest moon and the hunter's moon, and it's in Pisces. Go figure, we're talking about Christ consciousness on a full moon in Pisces, the first full moon in fall. Yeah. Part 2 will probably be out next Monday, but you might have to wait until later in the week for me to get it done, or even the next week. I may just skip a week so that I can write my book unhindered. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this, what ideas you guys have, what you guys took away from it, and if I'm in the right direction. Like, what do you guys think? I know that I feel like I am, and I know that in here it feels like I am, but other people know stuff that I don't know. So if you know things I don't know and you think I'm going in the right direction, let me know. If you think I'm going in the wrong direction, let me know, because I love constructive criticism and instruction. Have a good night. See you next time on Memento Mori.